Well, hello everybody. Here we are again on another edition of Portsmouth This Week. And we've been focusing our interviews this past week on the schools. Started with the high school principal last time, and now we're going to go all the way to the end, not where it ends, but where it begins, and that's in the elementary school. And our guest today is the principal of one of our elementary schools here in Portsmouth, the Hathaway School. She is Lisa Little.
Hello.
How are you? I met
great.
you before, so I know all about you. How are you doing? I'm glad
Great.
you're here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
To start off, I wondered if you'd just share with the folks a little bit about your background, how you came to Portsmouth, what's your educational background or whatever.
Sure. My original schooling was at Rhode Island College, and I got a degree in teaching elementary and special education. So when I graduated with those degrees, I got a job at what is now All Saints Academy in Middletown, but it used to be Newport County Catholic Regional School. I was there for 3 years in a 6th grade classroom, and at that point I then had an opportunity to get a job in Portsmouth, and I was hired through the special education, the region department, and I was in the region for about 3 or 4 years, teaching the same level, about 5th and 6th grade. And then from there, I went into a general education classroom in 6th grade. Then I decided to go back for my degree in counseling. So I, for a while, became the guidance counselor at the middle school. And I worked with students in grades 5 through 8, which was wonderful. I always say that I miss those years. I made a lot of connections with families, and when you're in guidance, you are exposed to a lot of things. So, and then from there, I went back and got my administrative degree. I became what we have at the middle school as house leaders. So I was a house leader. I taught half-time and I did administrative duties. Then I was the assistant principal there for 4 and 5. As you know, we moved our 4th and 5th graders. Well, 5th graders came back to the middle school.
Changes.
So I was really kind of in the crux of all that move. That was a lot of change for us, and it was I enjoyed doing that. And so I was the 4-5 assistant principal, and then last year I was given the opportunity to be the principal at Hathaway. So here I am.
An extensive background, and Hathaway is lucky to have you because you started at the bottom and you worked your way up, and you had a lot of good experiences.
I did.
To get our discussion going, I took the liberty to go to your website. A very impressive website, and I was struck by the first paragraph, and just part of it I want to read as a kickoff for our discussion today, that Hathaway School, you are excited to be part of these formative educational years. In partnership with families and community, the mission of Hathaway Elementary School is to provide all students with a strong academic foundation through diverse and challenging instruction in a safe and nurturing environment, enabling them to achieve their greatest potential while developing self-confidence, respect, responsibility, compassion, and a love of learning.
Wow.
That's it. The interview's over.
I know.
That's all.
That's a tall order, isn't it?
Yeah, but I sense that it's going on, and you've translated this piece of writing, which is kind of flowery and a little abstract, as it should be.
Yes.
But my visit to you recently, I get a sense that this is going on. The formative years. Talk a bit about the idea that kids graduate from high school, but they start back in that kindergarten and 1st and 2nd grade where a lot of habits and skills and attitudes are all developed. Talk a little bit about that, will you?
Yeah. Well, that's a big part of what we do. And I thank you for saying that you suspect that is going on and you saw some of it. It really is. And in order to really understand it, you almost have to be there for a little while and see the children and see the teachers and watch what's going on. But it's definitely happening. And we say the formative years because there are so many, in addition to the academics, which are the formative years as well, the reading, the writing, the math, the speaking and listening, and even science and social studies. We focus on all of that. But there is also those habits of learning. You know, we want to instill that love of learning. Our school has behavioral expectations that we've created with the students, and we've aligned to what we feel will make them be successful learners. So we have 4 basic rules that they follow. It's be safe, be responsible, be respectful, and be ready to learn.
Yeah.
And so when we give that foundation to them, if ever there are any students who maybe aren't making good choices, it happens on days, if I have to speak to them, I always start from that basis, from that foundation of those 4 key elements.
Yeah, non-educators or people who were in elementary school a few years ago, like me, sort of lose track of the fact that whereas the emphasis in those days was rote and teacher-centeredness, that now the emphasis seems to be more on those skills and attitudes and responsibilities that are present, and you really work at that. And I don't know if folks out there realize, oh, you're in school, you're going to learn how to do math, you're going to do that. But what about those ancillary and those spin-off things that are so important in formation, and you give that a lot of attention? What about the, you mentioned community, and I want you to dwell on that. The first thing when I met you this past week, we're a community, and you just were so excited about that. And expand a bit on that for our viewers.
Okay. Well, I'll give you this perspective. When I left my community at the middle school, that was my community for about 25 years, I was headed into, while I'm still in Portsmouth, it was a whole new community. And I heard things about Hathaway School. Lots of people would share their stories. And from the minute people started doing that, their stories all focused on, you are going to love it here. It is such a community. It's such a place where people work together, where people do for one another. Anyone who walks in can sense that. And so that's what I heard from everybody about it was a place of community. So when I got there on that very first day, I'll never forget it, I felt like I was walking into what was my home. It was a strange feeling. I didn't think I was going to feel that. I'm a pretty emotional person. I thought I'm really going to have a hard time because I'm leaving a home in a community. But right away, it was hit the ground running. And that's because of the people there and the way it is a community. Now, I know that when your comment was cute when we were talking about that. You had said to me you were waiting for the secretary to call you honey, and come here, honey, come on in, and
it's true. It's
because
true.
and that's the face of your building. You walk into secretaries, they're very warm and welcoming. We like parents to come in and volunteer. We want them to be partners in education and see what we're doing. We invite community members to come to different presentations. We have them in as guest readers. We have community meetings at Hathaway, which is pretty unique and I love, where once a month or once every other month, depending on how things are going, the whole school comes together. And we have a theme, whatever that theme may be, and always we involve the kids. Some of the kids do a little skit or a presentation. They always do the pledge to the flag. We sing our school song. Hathaway has a school song, which I also think makes it a community-like place. And then they do their skit, and if we've invited someone in from the community, they share with us, and then we may have something else going on, and then the students go back.
So it's a smaller community and a larger community.
It is.
But I just want to pick up on that feeling that you felt when you came there the first day. I felt as a complete stranger ringing the doorbell and walking in, and right away there was something in the air. And then when I walked in the office, the clerks were admitting a student who came in with a parent, but it was, hi honey, and how are you, and all this stuff. And then I was watching all this saying, hey, I was hoping I could enroll.
Well, they just might take you, so I'll tell you.
Let's talk a bit about, you were enthusiastic about the full day kindergarten, because I guess up to this point, I guess at one point we didn't have a kindergarten, and then we had a half day. but you were so enthusiastic about the full day, and why?
Okay, and that's what I came into. Last year was our first year with Full Day K. This is our second year. So a lot of the information I received was from the teachers and the parents as I went through last year about the difference that they were seeing in what was happening this year and the year before. I started to see it for myself. I have a little sample here. It's amazing. A kindergarten classroom is amazing. So this is a beginning of the year writing sample. Okay, so the children draw a picture. We ask them to label the picture if they can, and then they can write words if they can. Now, this child didn't write words, but the teacher wrote what the child told her, I went on vacation. So this was the very beginning of the year. So this is the same kindergartner, which I will turn this over at the top. I did not realize she had the name on there, but this is her first name. So this is the same kindergartner at the middle of the year who's doing the same writing assessment and has the picture, has some labels, and is writing. Now the teacher's written underneath it so that you can see what those words are, but I made a snowman. His name was Snowball. I liked, and then you can see they're writing over pages. Here's another page. Here's our next page. Again, there's some writing with a picture, and you can see the rest of what they've written here.
What does it say at the bottom?
He says, we put on his nose.
Oh.
We put on his eyes, we put on his nose. So
Okay.
they're going through the different parts of the story, the beginning, the middle, and the end, in what we would say is a narrative story. They're telling a story. And then the end of the story was we went inside. So I love full day kindergarten because we have time to do things like this, and they are doing things like this, to go from this writing piece to this writing piece just in a half a year. They're now writing over pages, they're doing beginning, middle, end, they get that concept. It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
we adults sometimes don't remember, what we didn't know
Exactly.
at age 5 or whatever it was. In addition to the science and speaking and the other academic subjects, you put a great deal of emphasis on speaking and listening. That's
do.
one of my favorites.
We do. We do.
In this day and age, with all the computers and the iPhones and iPads and everything, I think people have begun to lose their sense of listening. And the youngsters, if they don't get trained, live in a world of distraction. How do you do that listening thing?
Well, the very foundation of that is we have a program called Open Circle that we do on a regular basis in our classrooms, and Open Circle deals with social, emotional behaviors, and one of the first things that students learn in Open Circle is the school listening look. And so the school listening look is basically if they're on the rug, they're sitting crisscross and they're looking at the speaker and they're making eye contact. They're not doing anything else. Now, and so teachers will say, I need the school listening look, boys and girls. We have a symbol. The students put their 2 fingers up to be quiet if we're at a community meeting where everybody's there. And some of the students will start doing it and others will start to see it and they'll follow in and they'll start to stop talking and put their focus on the speaker and listen. It's something that they always need to be reminded of, and for some children it's a little more challenging than others, and I think we need to be careful because some children really can be listening to you but not looking right at you. So they may need to be fidgeting with something else in their hand, but they're listening to you. So we need to be aware of that, and I think our teachers are. They know their students.
We spent some time in our previous discussion about the importance of routine and habits, learning habits and attitudes and all that. And that's what this is, isn't it, with the 2? I guess when you get to be a scout, you hold 3
You
up.
hold 3.
Just 2.
Yeah. We used to do, where I came from, we used to do the quiet coyote. This was a little coyote in this print, which I love, but I didn't want to change it. They had this, and so we kept that, and the kids like it. So.
Yeah.
But rituals and routines are something that we spend a great deal of the beginning of the year on in every classroom. When teachers teach, they teach in what we call a workshop model. So they'll give a focus lesson, and then children go to different stations throughout this time. So they really have to understand what are those rituals and routines. Now, kindergartners can do it. All grades can do it, K through 3. Yeah, they move their own clip. You saw them move their own clip and where they go next. So there's a little self-regulation, self-discipline built into that. And classrooms have their morning routines. We have a school-wide morning routine where we do announcements, and I always end, and you could ask probably any child in that our Hathaway community. I always say, have a great learning day, and remember to, and they could fill it in, make good choices.
Make good choices.
So we start with that.
That's great. That's great. I went into that kindergarten class, and that just overwhelmed me that all these little people were all busy and committed to what they were doing, and the teacher and the aide were off to the side, available when needed, but some had headphones on, some were staring at that screen, some were playing, what was it, word bingo or whatever?
Yeah, sight word bingo.
Sight word bingo, and it was just so beehive-like.
Yes.
And productive.
Yes.
And that's all I have to believe that's all a matter of training, the discipline and the attitude and the routines. And we've got work to do here, folks.
And it allows for the teacher to meet with those small groups throughout that time. So you'll see her group change every time a station changes. Her group is going to change, so she gets to meet the needs of the kids in the classroom, whatever level they're at. She works with different groups, different leveled groups.
Yeah. I was very impressed with that, and I haven't been in a kindergarten class in a few years.
Yeah, I know. It's a fun place.
And also your school emphasizes, as we mentioned in the thing, and lifelong learning. I think I told you I'm a member of the Circle of Scholars at Salve Regina, which is for retired people who want to not go stale but continue to learn, and so it's fostering, but that begins back with you people.
It does. We have some, first of all, our HPTA and our parent volunteers put together an awesome after-school enrichment program, which goes beyond the school day. It allows them to learn something that they're interested in. We had animals, authors, and art, where they brought in like some cockroaches and all kinds of crazy down in the other neck of the woods, not near my office, but so they got to look at the animals and the authors and the art, and we did some karate. They did some yoga. That was cute in the library. They were all lined up, doing yoga. So there's lots going on for them, in addition to their school day, to have those opportunities to build in some lifelong learning.
Yeah.
We have a reading program, and again, the parents run this. It's our reading journey program, where they read so many books, and they check in the mornings, and they get stickers or prizes for how much they read, so it encourages reading at home. We also do that in our intervention program. They have a take-home reading program, and they earn charms, and they'll tell you and they'll show you how many charms they have for reading outside of school.
Motivation. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's how we try to keep them, we try to give them choice for things that they do in class as well, so that it does build that interest, so they don't lose that desire to learn.
Yeah. Listen, the other thing that I was impressed with, as a former writing teacher myself, working with an older population on the argument and opinion and substance, and I was just shaken by you telling me that these little guys are learning how to generate an opinion and how to support it, how to make an argument, and to put that in practical terms. This skill was carried off to a focus to a letter sent to somebody.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
Okay, so I get lots of letters when they start to do opinion writing, which I love. Some of them are trying to convince me to have school only on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They don't want Mondays, and they'll tell me the reasons why. So many of them talk about no homework. Many of them talk about things with recess or a longer lunch. They have really good ideas, and many of the ideas we use, like we're working on scheduling soon, and we're going to look at their ideas. The ideas that came to me recently from a third grade classroom, several letters, were they wanted to, they were trying to convince me to upgrade our playground. it didn't take much to convince me because we were already working on that. I've already been trying to get an upgrade to our playground. We have some great stencils we're ready to put down, but we need some new pavement. There's some rough areas out there, and we could, you know, upgrade a few things. So they gave me these letters, and they gave their reasons why, and one of them even went on to state that it was dangerous once he fell and he tripped on the, you know, the crack and he hurt himself. And so really good ideas. And so in my mind I thought, okay, this is right from the mouths of the students. So I sent the letters, made copies of them, and sent the letters to our director of finance and to our maintenance director. And because I think they should hear that, right? And,
why not?
And so I think they were happy to hear that. And so it has, I think it has shown them even more. Not they believed in me. We had things rolling. But I think when you hear from the children, because they're the people that, they are why we are here. So when you hear from them, it's very, very powerful. And I think it was powerful for them.
You didn't get into trouble with that, did you?
No, I didn't.
Putting the pressure on the finance
I
director.
don't think I did. I think in his words, I just tugged at some heartstrings. I don't think I'm in trouble yet.
No, I think that's marvelous. A lot of things that are done in the classroom need to be extended to something that is in the outside world, and this is a perfect example. The kids must have gotten a big charge out of generating that.
And they love that they're
Did they
used.
get any feedback? I meant to ask. Did the finance director send a nice letter back?
He's probably in the process of doing that. Or the other option is that when he comes to look at the playground, I think we should take those, it was 2 students I sent letters, we should take those 2 students with us on our playground walk. Our parents are dedicating a lot of time and effort into our playground too, our parent group, so they want to come, so I think we should bring those boys with us as well.
That's great. The other thing that I was impressed with is how, and you spoke about it briefly, which is how you get the community involved. You get some high schoolers that come down. You have Mr. Feinstein visiting. You have some the pets come down from Potter, and so there's just a very involved interaction. You know, talk about some of the other things that might go on. Do you recall?
Well, most recently we and I'm drawing a blank on his last name, but the children call him Grampy. He's a local Portsmouth gentleman who, and he's been coming to read to our children. He did this in Newport, and he approached us a while back. He lives in Portsmouth. And so he's been spending some time reading in some classrooms. The snow got in the way a little bit for a while there, but we're rescheduling that. So that's another community member that comes in. You know, we will have the police and fire when we have certain safety months and things like that. And like you said, we have, you know, the Potter League where they read with the dog, which is really a lot of fun.
I
know.
I saw a young
Schooners.
kid reading a story to a cat the other day.
Yeah, well, you know, as long as they're reading, right?
The cat was sort of looking around, though, wasn't staring at him, but I thought it was, I get the idea behind it, and I can see the motivation and
It's a treat for them.
everything. Oh, yeah.
It's a treat.
Yeah.
And I love when our high school students come down. It's a class they take at the high school, and I inherited that. They did that before I came to Hathaway. But I just love it that, you know, when they come in, you know, you feel the energy in the building anyway, but when they come in, they add this sense of more energy. And when they're not around, the teachers miss them in their classrooms. They're a big help.
Yeah. I want to touch 2 things quickly before we wind up. One is the cursive writing. I mentioned this to you. There are some folks out there who would just lament the fact that they don't teach cursive writing anymore, but there's a reason for that, of course, with the age, and it's a time thing. Do you have any comments on the cursive writing business?
I think I shared with you too. That I am a fan of when, you know, when those children wrote letters to me, they were writing. If they could write in cursive, they would write in cursive, or they could print. Either way, I think the actual art of writing, whether it's cursive or print, it's sad to see it go by the wayside in some way because, you know, we recently went through some things at my parents' house and we found letters from when my dad was in, you know, the war and written to his mom, and it was, and you just could feel it and you knew it was their handwriting.
Yeah.
So it's not as much as it used to be. No.
No.
Absolutely not. It's still there to some degree, but
you've got a full plate over there with things you're trying to do. I want to touch briefly on the so-called PARC test.
Yes.
And you might just want to alleviate some fears that parents have that the testing is coming. What is that all about?
Well, we were fortunate enough, our instructional coach, Jody Clark, with Liz Viveros and myself, we had a parent night for third grade PARC parents, which I thought was great. We reviewed the Common Core, we reviewed PARC, they had questions, and it was very enlightening for what their questions were. So I think what I would say is that we have worked with our children. We have made them feel comfortable with it. I went into each classroom, I read a story called Miss Malarkey Takes a Test, and we talked about what they were afraid of, and they got to say it, and I got to share with them, you know, how not to be afraid, and what it really means, and what we really use this information for.
Yeah, that raises the anxieties. These little guys and gals are going to be on a computer for, I understand, 4 hours or something?
Well, our sessions are, the assessment really is only 75 minutes.
Oh, okay.
We've built in the 90 minutes to get ready and log on and all that. And if all children finish before the 75 minutes are up, you can stop the session and leave. And we're only doing one session a day. So the rest of that day for that child is in the classroom doing those things again, learning.
That should alleviate some fears. And finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't applaud you for being a Feinstein Leadership School.
Yes.
I understand our town council has already
Yes.
given you applause and certificates, but
Yes.
tell our folks what it means to you.
So we love it. The children love it. We weren't sure that we could be a Feinstein school because there was already one in the district, but we got to be at the end of last year. So what it means to us is we help carry through Mr. Feinstein's goals and missions in terms of helping other people. We do food drives. We did a sock drive for people who needed, and it was in the winter. He visits our school, he gets the kids excited, they get cards where they get free admission to certain things, so they like that. The biggest part of it is the good deed program, so they fill these good deeds in and they send them in, and we read them on the morning announcements, and the kids love to hear their good deeds, whatever it is. I made breakfast without asking, I made my lunch, I helped my Grampy, they love it, and we say their name. And it goes right along with what we do with our Golden Apple program in terms of when kids earn a Golden Apple, they get a sticker and something that goes home to say, here's the good deed that I've done today. Here's what I've done. So it goes right along with us.
And what about
And
this?
that, who doesn't love a nice sweatshirt? We all got Feinstein sweatshirts. That one is for you.
Oh, I will wear it with pride.
You should. You should. And every child in the building got one, and all the adults in the building got one. And it just, we're always getting things. And it's great. It's fun.
Well, that's quite a story. And I'm glad that the folks out there in Portsmouth through cable will hear it and get a picture of what it's like inside. You know, buildings on the exterior tend to be sort of staid and bricky and impersonal, but you represent what's going on inside. Well, we want to thank you very much for being here, Lisa. I've enjoyed our conversation today and last week and my visit. And thanks a lot for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Well, that's a wrap for today. We'll see you next time on Portsmouth This Week.